All right, everyone, we are back with a massive Phaser Friday episode. We've got our December edition. Merry Christmas to everyone. We've got a very special guest. I'm so excited to dive in. Josie Sandford. This is her 2-year anniversary with Phaser
Mhm.
Marketing. So it is only fitting. Josie, thank you so much for jumping on the podcast. I can't wait to just dive into it here.
Yeah, I'm so excited, Luke. Thank you for having me. And I'm just excited to dive into everything.
Yeah, absolutely. So to start, so you started working with us 2 years ago. And for clarity for our listeners, you're still in college at the MSU. Obviously, that's
Yep.
Mankato. We're not talking about Minnesota State Moorhead. So
No.
Mankato, you are graduating this spring. And I think that's very important because if you backtrack that, you started working with us, that would have been your sophomore year, right?
Yeah, 2 years ago, sophomore year.
Yeah. So sophomore year, basically how it happened is, we were super small at that point, but doing, some fun things and exciting things, and got, I believe it was a LinkedIn message, and it just said, "Hey Luke, like I'm Josie, whatever. And like, do you have any opportunities for an internship?" And at that point I was like, "No, but do you just want to come work with us?" Um, and it was funny because like the way our business is set up, we don't have any full-time employees. Everyone is contracted. And so I'm like, yeah, I would rather just pay you like a normal human being, like pay you for your time. But also I felt like you'd get more from it doing it that way. So um yeah, it's been a crazy 2 years. I'm just excited to like reflect on it here a bit.
Yeah, definitely. I will say it was for sure maybe one of the ballsier things I've done, maybe just reaching out to you on LinkedIn like that. But yeah, I can definitely dive into more of that later as well.
Yeah, and I think it's so cool that you did because it just shows that like, well, for one, everyone's human. So
Oh, yeah.
I guess we could back up even further. Get on LinkedIn is the first thing. And then don't be
Yes.
afraid to like don't be afraid to like just shoot these people a message, like if it's a business owner, if it's a marketing agency owner, if it's the dean at a college. Like I think
Mhm.
you'd be super surprised of how many people are just like scrolling their phone like, "Oh, this person sent me a message and it's not a spam message." Like, wow, I'll actually respond to this.
Right. It's not just some like talent agency looking for someone. I think it's also super cool because everyone is looking to learn from everyone. So even that dean at that college wants to learn something from you. So no matter what, it's a two-way street, which I think is really important.
Yeah, always just coming from the place of like, okay, yes, I want to learn something and grab something from this person. Maybe it's a mentor, whoever it is. But yeah, like you mentioned, of just knowing that you have something of value too. You have your own story, you have something. And so I think when you come at it, I think a big piece of that too is confidence. So when
Yeah.
you come at it from that angle of just like, yeah, I'm gonna reach out. And if I get rejected, like who cares? Because I'm gonna have a few other people that I've reached out to, and maybe somebody will get back to me. But less structure, I think, is better when it comes to those messages of just like, "Hey, I read your book. In chapter 8, I thought it was so cool how you talked about this. Just thought I'd let you know that." But then, you could also add something of like, if you're free anytime, like I'd love to buy you a coffee. And having that action step too when you message somebody, I think is really important because then it's like, yeah, sure, why not? I love coffee, and then you can go do that.
Right. Right. And shout out COVID in a weird way that kind of allowed
Yeah.
us to be able to have those coffee meetings or coffee dates, whatever, from halfway across the world at any time.
Yeah.
So that's something that's super cool that we all need to take advantage of.
Yeah, absolutely. So Josie, you are in school, obviously it's crazy busy. As always, we are in December right now, so finals coming up, and then you're heading into your last semester. So what I didn't touch on is that you're also the chairperson, or you're a big part of the student executive team, which I did not have the opportunity to go do, and I'm so excited to learn a little bit more about it here, just because I got to speak at your business advisory conference, and just seeing all the students like put this event together, and like it was so cool to see that at the college level of like, man, this is awesome. So I just want to hear a little bit more about that and your experience like as a student executive team, and like being that chairperson.
Right, definitely. So for anyone who doesn't know, Luke also went to Minnesota State University, Mankato. So we're gonna be
Let's
double alumni
go.
together here eventually in the
Let's
spring.
go.
Um, but so as he stated, I'm on the student executive team, which is a rather new program at our campus. So it actually started last year, and we noticed there was a huge gap in our education at our school between the professors and the students. There was this weird gap where people weren't improving the curriculum in time, or students weren't willing to adapt to Zoom, etc. So this team kind of came to be because we saw that there was this big divide, and we wanted to be the voice of change for students and also be that liaison between the students and our professors. So essentially what we do is we work weekly. We'll have meetings where we brainstorm ideas that we can improve not only the College of Business at Mankato, but also the community. So we do a lot of various community events, which is super cool. We're trying to get really involved in high schools, and I know we even had some of our team members go to Shakopee, which is in Minnesota, which is like an
Yeah.
hour and a half drive from Mankato. Um, and so we kind of do a little bit of everything. And it's kind of cool because we are not a student club, we're not an
Yeah.
organization, we are actually employed by the college. So all of the other faculty, all the other staff look at us as equals, which is super exciting. And I think that's something that's been super beneficial in my college experience, because I've been working alongside professionals for quite a few years now. And it's just really nice to have people look at you as equal and not as like an
Yeah.
intern, like you were saying, Luke, because I think that really helps with confidence levels as well. But another thing we also work on is connecting students with current opportunities. So, as everyone knows, college is a really busy time. It's really stressful.
Yeah.
You're thrown with like a million things. There's like marketing club, there's some dinner, there's like a fireworks show. I don't know, there's like everything in college. So we really work to highlight those big events like the one that you attended, Luke, which was our business advisory conference. Um, so we really work to put on those events that are really beneficial to those students. They can learn how to prepare their LinkedIn. They can learn how to talk to professionals. Students can really get that hands-on experience, which is really crucial. So there's only, that was kind of a long tangent, but there's only
All
13 of us
good.
on this team. So I'm actually the co-chair. There's one other leader of the team with us. So we have weekly meetings where we brainstorm all these items. And we can actually enact all of them. So if there's an event that we want to put on, if we want to connect to campus employers, if we want to connect to the
Yeah.
community, we do such. And it's just been a really awesome opportunity, a learning experience, everything there.
Yeah. I think what I just thought of too is that uh having that experience, you're like you said, you're taking away the title of like an intern, or like
Yeah.
we're just doing this for a semester or whatever.
Mhm.
It's like, you're employed by the college, and but you're in a leadership role, like not just a fake
Mhm.
leadership role. I mean, it's a legitimate role. And then what I you also have that role with Phaser marketing too. It's like
Mhm.
you're in this leadership role, and all of a sudden it's like, well, but yeah, you haven't had 10 years of experience outside of college. It's like,
Yeah.
well, who cares? Like, it literally doesn't matter. If you can go in and do the work and lead, and like nobody's going to care. And that's what I've seen. And that's why it's been so awesome to see you step up, especially through the years working at Phaser. And you are, one of the biggest pieces of our team as well, of just like, being that core foundation and someone to go to. And then you double it with the student executive team, and you're a leader there. And it's just like, wow, okay. So then when you graduate, you have a degree, you have legitimate leadership experience, and not just, uh, you know, I don't want to say like part-time or internship stuff, because that's kind of
Yeah.
what it is, but it's nobody's looking at it that way. It's like, no, this is a
No.
huge piece of the pie here. So I think
Yeah.
that experience is invaluable. Um, and I think it's a good touch point here. Somebody that, I know a lot of our listeners are in college, or, they're just out of college, either looking for a job, they have a job, maybe they don't enjoy too much, or they have that deep down like entrepreneurial spirit. They just don't know like how do I start a business, or should I start a business? I think it's important to talk about because, in my opinion, it's very, very simple. It's not easy, like they say, but it's very simple. And in my opinion too, I think it actually is kind of easy to get something rolling. It doesn't mean it's going to be a huge success out of the gate, but
Right.
if you could talk a little bit about that, because I'm just so curious with, you're still in college, but over the last 2 years, you've essentially built up your own business, whether you realize it or not, because you are contracted with Phaser Marketing. Like, we pay you as a business, and it's just so cool. You invoice us each month, and you're kind of building up this portfolio of work you've done. So if somebody is, we'll call it like a sophomore in college, and they have this creative background maybe, and they want to do more remote work or whatever it is, like, what are some of the steps or pieces of advice you'd give them to be like, hey, you know do this, reach out to this person, XYZ, to kind of get started in this world?
Yeah, so I would definitely start off by saying, um, throw yourself into literally anything and everything, because if you are still, let's say, a sophomore in college, you might not know what you want to do. And I know
Yeah,
there's 30-year-olds, there's like 45, 50-year-olds that still are not 100% sure if
for
they're going to
sure.
keep on the same career path. So I think that's really important for everyone to realize, regardless of their age, regardless of their skill sets. Um, and everyone, I also want to add, is an entrepreneur, in my opinion, because everyone has that creative mindset. It looks different for every single person.
Yeah,
Maybe yours is more in, let's say, I don't know, like fashion or something, and someone else like Phaser, we're more into the dirt world. You know
for
what I'm
sure.
saying? Everyone has their own passions. So make sure you find something within your own passion. So I would say if you're really wanting to get started with your own business, let's say, or if your goal is to start freelancing, you might want to start, there's a few different options you could go. So there's sites like Fiverr or Upwork that you can go on. I don't know if you've heard of any of those.
Oh
Have you?
yeah, for sure.
Oh
Yeah.
yeah.
So I call them like the big three, and Upwork is definitely my favorite.
Yeah.
Fiverr and freelancer.com. Yeah, I'd say Upwork, and I'd recommend that to anyone who wants to get started. Jump on there, because all of a sudden the world opens up. You're like, oh, I can get paid for doing this from my bed tomorrow. And it's
Right.
just, and there's like a million different services that you can provide on there.
Yes, there's anything. You could do like voiceover stuff. You could dabble in
Yeah.
that. You could dabble in graphic design. But I would say for anyone looking to get into the business realm, not even knowing what they want to do, is get on Fiverr, get on Upwork, and literally look at any of the categories. Go see if there's anything that even somewhat interests you,
Yeah.
and throw yourself out there. I know there's like settings where you can put it as if you're like a pro or whatever. You can put that you're maybe a beginner, lower your prices,
Yep.
and you can still sell yourself on there. But as you start to dive deeper into your freelancing career, I think that you'll need to start to be more strategic about the types of work you do and the actual clients you do take on. It's okay in the beginning to kind of put yourself a little bit everywhere, to put your feelers out and see what you're good at and what you're maybe not good at. But it's really important to niche down and really throw yourself into one specific category. Um, so once you start doing so, you might be thinking, if I'm super picky with clients I take on or
Yeah.
jobs, how the heck can I actually make more money if I'm turning some jobs down? But I know we even talk about this at Phaser. It's super important to have that relationship and to connect those two. And once you're super, I'm losing my train of thought, but once you're super into your niche, you can become a expert in a specific field, and then you can start charging more because you are
Yeah.
an expert, let's say in the dirt world or in fashion or whatever it is. But it's really crucial to start niching down.
Yeah, it's I love how you brought that up, because right away, I mean, you probably can't. It's just like, you take some projects on, you get a feel for it. Plus, you probably don't even know what you do like or who you like to work
Mm-mm.
with. But yeah, it's just something, I'd give it a few months, give it a few
Yeah.
projects, and start to see like, okay, I do see that there's more opportunity here. And then, as you mentioned, like as you go further niche, it's not just niching down like who you want to work with, it's also like what services you're providing. So
Mhm.
maybe that's just graphic design, maybe that's social media and graphic design, maybe that's, like you said, voiceovers. I'm just going to do
Yeah.
voiceovers. And it provides you so much clarity on your strategy of just like, this is what I'm going to practice. This is what I'm going to do. This is what I'm going to get good at. And then all of a sudden, like you start going up the ladder of like, oh, wow, like this is becoming easier. Like
Right.
if you have a team under you, if you're doing it yourself, if, each time you get a new client, it becomes easier. You then become the expert in that situation, and you can help tell your clients and coach your clients, like, this is how we're going to do it because I know this works.
Yeah. Yeah, that plays a lot into being confident too, because once you dive into that, then you feel confident what you're doing because the guy down the street most likely won't know how to do exactly what you can do. And
Yeah.
that guy down the street might be looking for your services. So
Yeah.
that's
I love that too, because that took me a little bit to overcome, is realizing and accepting that it's okay to know more about a certain topic or a strategy. For example, in this example, it'd be, it's okay for me to realize that I might know more about digital marketing than this person.
yeah.
It's not me putting over them. It's not any of that. They know way more about welding or construction or probably a million different things, know more than me. But in that business relationship, then it becomes more of a partnership where it's like, okay, you're a freelancer, you're really good at graphic design, and you love doing graphic design. I am inept when it comes to that. So it's like, can we work together? And it's like, absolutely, that'd be great. It's like, okay, great. I have these clients that are really amazing. I just need some help on the graphic design side. And then all of a sudden you see it, it's like, okay, this is great. We all have our own strengths, we all have our own passions. And when you can really work on becoming your best self and surrounding
Mhm.
yourself with those people and those attitudes, it's like, man, we can do so much together in such a short amount of time.
Right. When you start to have that mentality, I feel like the sky is the limit. I know it sounds cheesy, but it genuinely is when you have other people who are willing to boost you up in that
Yeah.
realm, even if they don't have the same
Yeah,
skills as you.
for sure. And from my point of view, when it comes to, a freelancer,
Mhm.
yeah, because people reach out to us all the time, like, Luke can come work for Phaser. And what really, really helps me is if, and this can help anyone listening, if you are thinking about getting into freelancing, is try and focus on one of those hard skills. And by hard skills, I mean graphic design, SEO, web design, analytics, maybe Google Ads, like you're just
Yeah.
amazing at setting up Google Ads, because that gives a clear out for like somebody like me or any other business owner, somebody who'd want to work with you, of, oh, she she or he has a clear expertise in this skill that we could definitely utilize. Where if a freelancer comes to me and says, hey Luke, I don't have any experience, but I'm willing to learn. Like, I love that, and it's great and it's amazing, but it's difficult because there's a lot of training that goes into there, and where it'd be nice to just be like, okay, you're super passionate about SEO. You've been cranking out these online
Mhm.
courses. You have a portfolio to show. Awesome. Let's plug you in and see how it works and see how you do. Having that specific like skill set and that hard skill is a game changer. And it's a little more difficult as well if it's like, I'm great at communicating, or
Right.
I have a sport management degree, which I
Yeah.
have, and it's like, who cares? It
Yeah.
it it is having the degree supplementing it with that skill is like
Mhm.
perfect, because then you have the book smart, and then you have like that real life working skill that people are looking for.
Yeah, totally. And I feel like just still being in college right now, I feel like COVID and everything kind of impacted this. But oh my goodness, I just lost my train of thought. What did you just say?
Well, I'll pick it up from there, because we were talking about this before, but since COVID, so a few years ago, obviously, we'll call it maybe when you're in high school,
Yeah.
this whole work from home, remote stuff, it wasn't really applicable, and it didn't really cross many of our minds. And even for me, I was in college at that time. I didn't think about like, oh, my job, I'm going to be remote. So
Right.
how have you seen that change over the years here? And, as you kind of graduate this spring and as you go in 2023, 2024, 2025, like, do you know what you're looking for as far as remote work, hybrid, in person? And what do you think you'll prefer?
Yeah, so I know pre-COVID, I was a 100% in-person type of
Yeah.
girl. I never was big behind the screens or anything like that. But now since COVID happened, I feel like kind of like we talked about earlier, it opened so many doors to meet with people. Now you don't have to fly to go meet someone. You can just
Yeah.
quickly FaceTime them or Zoom them from your bedroom. Um, so I feel like it's opened so many doors for people, and I see myself maybe going toward more of a hybrid model
Yeah.
as I leave school, just because I feel like behind the screen, you still learn a lot, yes, but I feel like it's also crucial to have those in-person skills. And I feel
Yeah.
like being a grad in 2022 um, is super important to still get those in-person skills.
100%.
So much you can learn from people, because LinkedIn Learning, like, all those things are great. Skillshare is great, but that's not a human interaction.
Yeah.
So I feel like that's something that's crucial. So heck, maybe one day we're gonna have a Phaser HQ like
Let's
in
go.
Scottsdale, you know?
Let's go. I mean, that would be awesome. And it's interesting too, because it's not as crazy as we may all think, because
Right.
the original thought is like, oh, you'd buy an office. I'm like, absolutely not. I
Yeah.
never want to like buy an
Yeah.
office
A
and like make
cubicle.
people go. But nowadays, like right now, like I'm sitting in this little telephone booth office in Las Vegas at a WeWork station. And so it's like, okay, what if we have some sort of like shared office where, okay, we're
Mhm.
all going to meet up at our office in Minneapolis. And then, okay, we're all going to meet up in our office in Tennessee and go pick up Brandon and all that. So I'm like, okay, when you look at something different
Mhm.
with these resources nowadays, it's like, it's very possible to have this hybrid model in a way that not many businesses are doing. And granted, I'm also not ignorant to the fact that like we are so blessed to be in this industry.
Oh, yeah.
There
Oh, yeah.
are so many industries and jobs out there where you can't work remote or you don't have that option to like, yeah, I'm in Vegas and you're in Minnesota and we're having this podcast. It's just
Yeah.
so we are so blessed to be in this opportunity. And it's like we might as well harness it and use it to the best of our ability. And also, like you said too, I think it's so important to have that human interaction. Like you and I met for the first time in August of this year after working together almost 2 years. We had almost the whole crew at our Phaser fundraiser, which was incredible. Like everyone got to finally meet in person. And I was like, man, it's also really cool that we've come this far without ever like, meeting face to face. So it's a
Right.
little bit of I see both sides of like it's so cool that we can get this far without meeting, but at the same time too, you, myself, and most of our other team, we crave that in person, like,
Yeah.
hey, let's go grab a coffee, let's go shake hands, let's go to an event, let's go do something. And that will always win for me. I mean, especially, meeting with our team, meeting with clients, meeting in person, going to grab a drink, like all that stuff. It fills up my cup much more than sitting on a Zoom call.
I totally agree, and you can't fully get the experience through a screen. Like, you can get someone's
Yeah.
bubbly personality, you can get their tone of voice, but it doesn't feel the same. But in the same grain, being able to work from home unlocks so many things. Like, you have so much more time in your day that you don't have to dedicate to driving in traffic to get to the
Yeah.
office. Like, now you can take that time to maybe spend time with your family or take your dog for a walk or do something for yourself. So I think that's something that's also really important.
Yeah, I've loved on our Phaser Instagram, we've
Yeah.
we've been doing those meet the team things, and it's so fun because I think it's cool to give an insight into our team members, because I treat them, or we all treat each other like team members, like we're one team, but
Mhm.
also like it's very flexible where we're not all working 40 hours a week. Uh and so it's like, okay, yeah, what do you do with your other time? And
Right.
going out walking your dog, going to your other job. Maybe you have another thing going on, coming home, cranking out 2 solid hours of phaser. And it's really cool to see everyone's dynamic, because also everyone's different too. And I think what I've learned probably in the last year that's most important is like working on yourself
Mm-hmm.
in all of this, because it doesn't like when you're working on yourself and you're improving yourself, maybe physically, mentally, emotionally, spiritually, that is only going to help your career and your job, because then you're working at your best self, and you are all of a sudden like your attitude changes, um, your confidence, your mood, everything changes, and it affects those around you. And I definitely believe that. And so I've, kind of resorted back to like, okay, instead of focusing all on business,
Mm-hmm.
let's focus on ourselves here, and how can we improve ourselves. And it seems to just be all catching up with all of us.
Yeah, I feel like recently, maybe in the past like year or 2 years, there's been more of a shift toward that mental health and toward
Yeah.
positively working on yourself, which is really awesome. It's becoming something that's at the forefront of most businesses. Like I know at our college, we even have a center that's just for all of our workers to go and de-stress. There's like massage chairs, things like that.
Yeah.
So it's kind of cool to see all of those things really coming together in the workplace as well. Cause I feel like 5 years ago that wasn't as prevalent. And I feel like that's super important.
Yeah, it's cool to see more people talking about it, especially I would say in the workplace as well, because we work. I totally forgot the stat, but it's an absurd amount of time in our lives,
Yeah.
and so if we despise going to work and look forward to Friday nights, and then hate going to work on Monday, it's like,
Yeah.
well, I hate, it's like, what's the point? And granted, I know that not every job is going to be great, but also it's up here too, and it's that mentality. And a lot of times it comes from that workplace culture, and what is provided, and what is expected. So it is cool to see that more and more companies and people are putting that further up their priority list, and making that, um, yeah, making that a big priority. So I think this ties in pretty well to it too, but working on ourselves, and then, heading into 2023, you've got a huge year coming up. So, so many things going on. Like, do you have any goals that you're looking to accomplish? And like, where do you see yourself going in 2023? You've already come so far before graduating college, and it's just cool to see like, okay, what's that next step? Like, what are you chasing after in 2023, and what are you working on as well, for some of your goals?
Yeah, definitely. I feel like there's a lot of things I feel like that are about to happen for me in 2023. So I graduate in the spring. That means I'm in that awkward, exciting, and fun transition of
Yeah.
going from college with your hand being held to the real life where
Yeah.
you have to find health insurance. You have to find,
It's
you know,
crazy.
yes. So there's a lot of things coming up in that realm, but I feel like my plan as of right now. So obviously I'm going to keep phaser. Phaser's super important.
Let's go.
I feel like
Here
if
we go.
anyone finds themselves in a freelancing position or anything like that, I feel like you have to hold on to it because it's always your fun time. It doesn't really feel like work
Yeah.
because you could do it on a Sunday at a coffee shop. So I feel like that is super important. So if anyone has a position like that, if you're in college, if you're wanting to start freelancing, never get rid of it. You can do that in addition to having a full-time job.
Yeah, and you can scale it up and you can scale it back. I think that's very important to note, because like you said, I mean, realistically, if something happened, or you got like a great full-time job, we just like scale your hours back, but you'd still
Right.
do, you know, 5 hours a week or whatever it is to make it work, but it still keeps that business essentially going for you. And yeah, it's fun. You like to do it. It almost
Mhm.
like fills up that entrepreneurial or creative cup that we've been talking about, of like having that thing outside of your job. So yeah, I love thinking of it that way, like you
Yeah.
mentioned, of just keeping it, and then also like you can scale it up too,
Right.
where okay, things are going great. Like let's do 30 hours a week, and essentially you're still a freelancer and a contractor, but you're doing more work. But diversifying yourself, I think, is where we're going with that, and
Mhm.
just keeping it open.
Yeah, no, definitely. I also am planning on making some kind of big decisions. I'm hoping to completely move states. I'm Minnesota born and raised, but I'm completely planning on going to Colorado. I kind of just
Let's
want to pack up and
go.
go. So
Do it.
that's another really exciting thing about freelancing. It's in my back pocket. I can take it with me to Alaska. I could take it
Yeah.
with me to Colorado. Um,
Yeah. I've got kind of a long-winded tip, but bear with me.
oh, okay.
Do it. That's all.
That's it. Do it.
Yeah, do it. Yeah.
Hey, I like it. That's good. I feel like that's what most people are saying. Um, when you're in your early 20s, your mid 20s, even your late 20s, it's still the
Yeah.
time where you're learning about yourself. So take the scary jumps, take the leaps of faith, take
Yeah.
that job offer that you might not like or that you
A-
think you're not qualified for.
absolutely. You can always move back. And what Olivia and I noticed is that every single person, my parents' friends, my parents' friends' friends, whoever it was, they're just like, do it, go do it. You don't have kids yet, go do it before you have kids.
Mhm.
You don't have all these responsibilities yet. And every single person has told us that's right. Okay, at that time, we're like, we're gonna move to Omaha.
Go
And we
do it.
did. It was awesome. And then we did it again. We moved to Arizona. We're like, okay, this is so cool. And I think what really helped me is you realize when you move away from home, for example, to a new state like Colorado,
Mhm.
it sounds so dumb, but you realize that, oh, there's gas stations here. People have jobs here. People
Yeah,
work
no.
out here. They exercise. They have friends. They go out. And it's like it's all like the same, but you get that different perspective on it
Mhm.
as well. And I think that is just so important for like my type of personality, and also like with yours too. And like you mentioned too, you can take your freelancing work with you, and with your work ethic and your experience and what you can do and what the marketplace is looking for, like there's no reason why you're not going to be like successful in the next few years if you just like keep at it. And especially even if you do move it, I think it helps.
Right, I agree. And I feel like that goes for absolutely anyone. I feel like it doesn't matter who you are. If you want to do something and you're passionate about it and you at least have a little bit of oomph to get it done,
Yeah.
go do it because you can figure it out on the way. You might mess up, you might screw up, but it's okay. Keep going.
Yeah. And lean on people too.
Yeah.
People will be your biggest help always. Where it's, luckily when we moved to Arizona, I'd never even been to the state, and we just like packed up our cars, and anything that didn't fit in our two little cars, we just threw away or sold. And I was like, we're like, all right, let's go. But what we were able to do is like, okay, when we get there, let's plug into a church. We have a couple friends, that live there. And so we just connected with them right away. And then, reaching out to, maybe an association or somewhere to volunteer. And all of a sudden you start to build this community. But if you move somewhere and you just like work remote and you lock yourself in your one bedroom studio or your one bedroom apartment,
Yeah, or studio.
and yeah, or studio, and then you just like don't do anything, it's going to be very difficult. And so it's so important to surround yourself with people. You're going to have ups and downs, but just reach out to people. You'd be surprised because they may be struggling with the same thing too. And so be a friend to somebody. Like never see somebody as a stranger.
Yeah, I like that a lot. I really do. I know I didn't have really a measurable goal or anything like that, but my goal is to really just get to that point and see where it takes me. While still working on building myself and not
Yeah.
forgetting to take time to travel or to relax or to do a face mask. So I guess that's really my
Yeah.
2023 goal is to keep up with studies, keep up with jobs, and just enjoy life and continue to not live to work. Is that what it is? Live to work, but work to what is
Yes.
it?
Yeah, I think that's it. Uh,
Work to live or live to work?
yeah,
Oh,
we should
what
we should have Brandon quote that here, and whichever one it is.
you know what
But
I'm talking about?
absolutely, yeah.
Yes, okay.
And I heard a really cool quote, which I shouldn't even say quote because I'm not going to quote it right. But this guy was talking about that of his time and money, and like he just talked about how he built up a business and he sold it. He's like, I did that so I could buy more time, and he didn't, he wasn't running around still. He wasn't doing all this crazy stuff, and he wasn't he wanted to do what he wanted to do, and he was just at peace with that. And because he made the money, he could do that because he didn't have to spend his time to go make the money. And so he flipped it around, and it was just a cool way to look at it because um rich people or people that make money or people that see some success in business, they're not bad people if they come from a good place.
Right.
And a lot of times, yeah, if you have more time to see your kids and go to their baseball games and, travel a little bit with them, that's definitely not a bad thing. But you can come from a place, that isn't great as well.
Yeah, you're not wrong there.
But yeah, and obviously in 2023, yeah, hopefully we can just keep this whole phaser train rolling, and you know, look at your hours too and just be like, yeah, do you want to work more? Do you want to work less?
Mhm.
And I know I always talk about that with you and all of our other team members is I don't want to ever force anyone to like, you need to work with us or else. It's like I just want to give you more options. And
Mhm.
so if you graduate college and you only have one job offer and it's a full-time job and you don't want to take it, hey, at least you've got like hopefully at that time, phaser, you can go full time with phaser or go 20 hours of phaser and get another contract. Or, there's just, I want to provide different options for our team. And I think it's really cool how that's been responded to because, like Lucy, she had an interview and the reference, she asked obviously if she could put me as a reference. I was like, absolutely. And so I'm talking to the reference and we're just having a great conversation. And I think she was kind of poking around. She's like, so like if she does accept this job, like, does she, still work with Phaser? And I'm like, it's for one, it's like totally up to her. But Lucy and I talked about, and she's like, we would just do the same thing. What we're talking about with you is like, we can scale back, we can do more, try and be as flexible as possible because ultimately I want everyone on our team, especially to be happy and to be like filled up with what they're doing. And if I can provide an option for that, then that's what we're going to do.
Yeah, I think that's what's so cool about Phaser. I know from people for the outside, of course, they don't 100% know how Phaser runs internally. But all of us are here by choice and we don't have to come in. Well, I guess we don't actually come in, but we don't have to log on and do stuff,
Yeah.
let's say, for 40 hours a week. Like we don't
Yeah.
have to. It's really whatever like you can get done and whatever you can prioritize, if that makes sense. So everyone is willingly attending everything because nothing
Yeah.
is 100% required. So I think that kind of shows to how much that really can show in your work.
Hmm. That's a really good point. I'm glad you brought that up because it's so true that even legally, like if we schedule a Monday meeting, like I
Mhm.
can't require anyone to be there because they're not employees. So, but it almost like works in our favor because I'm like, if you can make it, great. If you can't, like, still great. We can send you the notes or whatever. But it also shows like people, you want to be there. You want to learn more. You want to make more money. You want to help more clients and all of this. So it almost like, yeah, it's worked in the reverse way of like,
Yeah.
since we're giving you a choice and you are choosing to be there and choosing to do it, um, it's working out better. Where if somebody were to come to me and like want to leave, I would obviously absolutely be like, yeah, how can I help you in the next transition or the next
Yeah.
journey? And we've just been so blessed with like the people we have on our team. It typically doesn't happen like that because they can scale up or scale back and work with their schedule or work with their budget, even things like that. So that's a really cool point though. Like when people are choosing to be there, what a difference that makes in their work ethic, their productivity, and their mentality. Because another thing too, not to get too into the weeds, but um, I kind of go off the honor system on your invoices. Like everyone,
Yeah.
send me your hours, and I take a quick glance at them. We kind of break it out into what you did, but if it's an
Right.
extra hour here or you didn't charge for this hour, it doesn't matter because you're choosing to be there. You understand the mission, the goal of everything. It's just like,
Mhm.
who cares if it's an extra hour or 2 hours or one way or the other. So having that trust in our team has been awesome just because it's just like, you're choosing to be here. I will help you as much as I can, which I know I can be better at, especially in the new year. That's something I really want to focus on, is how can we provide, even like some onboarding stuff. Cause when we bring somebody on, it's like, let's get started. And it's like, okay, let's back up here a little bit. How can we provide a little bit of a
Yeah.
better experience? So it's just really cool because you and I especially, and some of the just the OG team members, we've just been learning as we're going. And it's cool to just see that and admit it, of like, yeah, we definitely don't know everything, but
Yeah.
we're seeing progress, we're seeing improvements, we're seeing innovation, and that is more exciting than anything to me.
Right. And I think that's one of the things I value so much about Phaser is the work environment. I think you have kind of set the bar for what I will look for in future jobs, because of course I'm going to add stuff into my portfolio. I'm going to keep adding
Mhm.
things, but you set the bar for what I want in a workplace. I want that family environment. I want to be comfortable. And like you said, you trust us to send you your invoice or our invoices. Um, and I feel like in different businesses, like there's not as much of that family culture, and it hinders the work that gets put
Yeah.
out. So forever going forward now, that's one thing I'm going to definitely prioritize forever when I'm looking for an additional job. Not a new
Yeah.
job, additional job.
Yeah. There we go. And I appreciate that so much. It just it means so much to me. And I want to see people thrive and people be happy. And not only our team, and not only, you know, myself, my wife, my family and friends, but our clients too. I mean, I think we take that approach, and we could ask them and how we can be better, but I think we
Mhm.
take that approach of like, hey, we want to grow together. We want you to be happy. We want to all celebrate. And I think that takes us off of the chopping block, so to say, of just like,
Yeah.
how sometimes it is with a marketing agency and a client. It's like, get me these sales or you're fired. Where it
The
seems like
numbers.
with all of our clients, it's like, hey, we're gonna do our best, knowing what we know, to help grow your business, and obviously this digital marketing space. And they have to reciprocate that and say,
Mhm.
we understand, we like you guys, we want to grow with, there has to be that expectation too. But I feel like we've got just such a solid balance. And part of that too, I know we go through if we get a lead in, we vet them just as much as they vet us. And,
Yeah.
we've had some situations where, it's maybe just not a good fit. And it's okay to say, it's just not a good fit for our team. You can go listen to our podcast or check out our website, but we're just not going to bring you on like for our marketing services. And I think that has been huge for us as a whole, just because we get to work with the people we want to work with, and provide that service, and just like enjoy this whole process.
Right. That kind of goes back to the beginning of our conversation where we were talking about how to first start with freelancing and how you're talking about niching down,
Yeah.
and being picky about the work that you actually take on.
Yeah.
That is a perfect example of how it can actually help you.
Yeah. And to get there, you do have to sometimes go through the trenches of like, oh, I see what I don't want now.
Yes.
Okay, this makes sense. And it's like, okay, let's clean that up here. And so,
Mhm.
we've definitely had our fair share of that, but we've also had so many great people and mentors reach out to us and say, hey, you'll probably run into this issue. It just happened to me. I'm telling you so you don't run into it. We're like, thank you for that. We'll put that in there. And then you just you learn and you grow, but you're always going to go through the trenches and go through the bad moments. But
Yeah.
I guess I'm a firm believer, there's no bad days. There's just days that aren't as great.
Yeah.
Um,
I like that.
and yeah, it's just, I don't know, like I think we all have control of this, and, you know, um, there's just so many blessings that we have, just to be here in this situation. So uh it's been super fun and cool to grow with our team, and just to
Mhm.
see like how we're all reacting and interacting. But I definitely think some in-person meetings are definitely going to be on the schedule in the future.
Yeah, no, I definitely agree on that. To add to what you were saying just a little bit, I also feel like within a workplace, within life, within everything, transparency is
Yes.
100% key. Whether that's with the person you're working on creating a graphic with, or
Yeah.
whether it's with your client or your boss, whatever it is. Because at the end of the day, everyone is human, and
Yeah.
maybe you didn't get a crazy amount of engagements on that post and the client doesn't love that, but then we have to reel it back in and say, okay, what can we do to learn from this, etc.
Yeah, exactly. I think that is such an important topic because that comes from both sides. That comes from,
Mhm.
if you're a business, if you're a freelancer, if you're a client, if you're a company.
Human. Yeah.
Also, yeah, if you're just a human, like just call it like it is, say
Yep.
it like it is. And I promise you, like people will respect you for that. And also like it ends up not being as big of a deal as if you were to just like lie or sweep it under the rug. It's like just call it like it is. We try and not make any guarantees when it comes to like, oh, we guarantee this or that. It's like we're gonna do our best knowing what we know and try and
Mhm.
get there. But if something happens or if we need more things or if something happened within our team, we'll just let you know because that's the reality. And we've seen that, yeah, it's just people will respect you more if you just call it like it is and
Mhm.
be transparent, not trying to hide anything.
No, not sugarcoating anything, not I know a lot of this is kind of sidetracking, but a lot of other marketing agencies will add hidden fees and things like that, and I think that kind of goes into that
Yeah, the
transparency.
transparency. Yeah,
Yeah.
and just, if anyone asks me our fees or how much, whatever it is, it's just like you just tell them it is what it is. But they also have that respect. For example, like with one of our clients, if they say, "Hey, Luke, can you make this 3D rendering of this, that, and this?" I assume it's going to be extra. Just let me know how much it is. Like we'll just tell them we can do it. It'll be this much. Let me know if that's okay. And just it takes all the pressure off when you're not trying to like hide all of this stuff in and like bill them afterwards.
Yeah, that's very accurate. Kind of relating it to the younger perspective, the younger point of view. I feel like a lot of people my age are super scared to make those mistakes and maybe be honest and maybe
Yeah.
admit that you don't know how to do something, or maybe you're not 100% sure on this software, but you can try.
Yeah.
Um, so I feel like that's something that is also super important to just admit when you need some help. And to anyone who is younger, it's okay. You're going to be learning. You're always going to learn. And
Yeah.
it's okay to not know things. So just
Yeah. Have some personality too. Just be yourself. Like I know in an email, I used to always try and, maybe in high school, I would try and like do everything they taught me. And I'm like, I just
yes.
like, I'm not getting my point across here. And I felt like I was changing anytime I communicate with somebody. I felt like I had to be more corporate. Like, you know what? I'm just going to vow to just be myself in an email, say what I need to say, like whatever. And I think it's going to be okay. And that has helped a ton just because for one, it's quicker, but two, people
Yeah.
see that, okay, this this guy has some personality actually. He's not a
Right.
robot. And I
Right.
think that's changed so much in the last, I don't know, 5 or 10 years where people are seeing like they like the personality. I mean, maybe not 10 exclamation points, but
No.
they like to see something else instead of the monotony that maybe they see every single day. So yeah, just be yourself when it comes to reaching out to people like on
Yeah.
LinkedIn that we talked about, sending emails, sending texts. Don't be afraid to jump on the phone ever and just give a call. People will respect that. And then one other tip actually that I've been using for a little while now is these audio messages, these voice texts. Nobody does it. And so it's like very unique when somebody gets one. You just send them an audio message, it could be 45 seconds, and you can just kind of ramble on a little bit, introduce yourself, or give them a little message. It's just so different and nobody's doing it that it helps you stick out a bit. So, as an example, if a freelancer that had a specific skill that we're talking about sent me an audio message, like absolutely I'm going to listen to that because I'm going to be curious, like,
Yeah.
what is this? Or, and then, obviously delivering that message. But yeah, it's just there's little things like that where if you just be yourself and you be a little bit different, which I feel like we all are, you'll definitely stand out.
Yeah, that's even like in all of your emails, any communication,
They're
I've
not
always
great.
loved it. No, I was gonna say you
But
always say like let's go or something like
yeah,
that.
yeah,
So
I don't know, it's boring the other way of like trying to be somebody else. I'm like, well, I'm just gonna say what
thanks.
I would normally say to my friends or whoever. Obviously, yeah, there's like minimal things that I would maybe change, but other than that, just like being yourself and trying to get your point across.
Yeah, I like that a lot.
But as we wrap up here, so we have the December Phaser Friday episode. Um, Amazing conversation. I was so excited for this one because we really got to dive into, your point of view, like from where you're coming from, working with Phaser, still in college, working at, with the student executive team. How can people like follow along with you and your journey, because you're still building this story and this journey and you always will be? Like, how can people follow along with that and also like reach out to you if they have any additional questions about how any of this stuff works?
Yeah, for sure. Well, of course, as we all talked about, everyone in the business world knows LinkedIn.
For sure.
Go send that message. I literally will respond to everything. I get so excited if anyone messages me. But I try to be decently active on like Instagram and everything, but I really want to start being more active on LinkedIn.
Mhm.
You do that really well, Luke. Um,
Thanks.
yeah, but I really just want to kind of keep posting because it's kind of fun to have that timeline of everything you've done
Yeah.
too. So LinkedIn is a good spot to continue to follow my story, to continue to follow the Phaser story, and just keep growing those connections and just keep being a badass.
Yeah, let's go. I love it. Yeah, Josie, thanks a million for being on the podcast. Thank you for everything you're doing for Phaser, for MSU, for everyone that you've interacted with. I'm so excited to see what 2023 has in store for you and for us as a whole. But I just know great things are ahead still, and I'm just so thankful that you took the time to be on the podcast.
Yeah, definitely. No, this was an honor. I'd love to come back again. Love to talk about literally anything, no matter what.
Let's go. Let's do it. Well, Merry Christmas, and we'll see you in the new year.
Yes, see you all in the new year. Merry Christmas and enjoy.